All right, guys, so in this video, I just wanted to discuss potentially how bad is it going to get for the Oakland Athletics, and then we've got some other stuff. The Tampa Bay Rays drawing very well, some miscellaneous stuff from Friday night. But first, we did have, guys, this is getting hilarious. Kansas City is one game away from the Athletics. I know everyone keeps clowning on Oakland and how bad they've been. What is going on with the Royals? I mean, some of these teams are just genuinely horrific. But there you can see Oakland sitting at 7-26. Kansas City, who lost last night to Oakland, 8-25. Obviously, we all know Oakland is worse than Kansas City. Kansas City very well might lose 100 games, maybe 102 games. But the question is, how bad is Oakland going to be? Could they be worse than the 2018 Baltimore Orioles? The Orioles went 47-115. And I would say, I actually saw this stat last night. The Oakland Athletics, it was the first time this season, and we're in May, by the way. We're in May. It's a different month. It's not even April. First time this season, an Oakland Athletics starting pitcher got a win. Honestly, probably right now, I would pick the A's to go 43-119. You also have to realize they're going to be trading Brett Roker, who is just going crazy. He came into this year with a negative career WAR, and he's put up like a 1.5 WAR in the span of 30 games. And if I was Oakland, I would try and trade him right now for a prospect. I'm sure no team is going to be interested. He's going to cool off, and he'll probably eventually get dealt at the deadline for a mediocre return because he just hasn't been a good player in his career. He was never a top prospect. He has no pedigree. And you take a look at the A's offense, and this might be the most demoralizing thing. They're actually not horrible. I mean, they've got, 5 players at least at league average or above with an OPS plus over 100. I mean, this is a better offense than the Cleveland Guardians here, but I would imagine that to actually get worse. Maybe they could trade Jesus Aguilar, probably for a relief prospect or something like that. I mean, the dude's 33. He does have an 800 OPS. You got to respect him. Maybe there's some trade prospects there. And then they're pitching those 2 Yankee kids that they got for Frankie Montas. I mean, that's actually a really good trade by the A's. Frankie Montas, what does he have, like a 7 ERA with the Yankees in his career? He's probably not even going to pitch there again. But you can see the thing to look at when it comes to the starters is ERA plus. You want to be at least over 100. They've got an interesting kid, Mason Miller, who's only 24. We'll have to see how he develops. They got that kid from Japan who, my goodness, 4 games started, 12 ERA. 34 total ERA plus. So yeah, their pitching is actually terrible. The thing with Oakland that's interesting, they might actually win some games at home due to just being such a dump. The Coliseum is so horrible. When teams come in there, there's no motivation for them to play, so they might steal a few home games because teams are just, legitimately, they're saying 2,000 people are at the games. I've never seen it this empty. I think it's more empty even this year than it was last, and that's not surprising considering it was announced they're moving. There's no incentive for the fans to show up and give the ownership any more money, and it's only going to get worse, and it's going to get so bad. I don't know what their season ticket base is, but their attendance is probably going to be whatever the season ticket base is. They're going to get no walk-up at all for these games because it's just, they're non-competitive, they're moving, they hate the owner, there's no reason to show up, all the players suck. It's the worst situation we've seen recently with any professional team. But you would figure Oakland, they'll be sellers at the deadline, and they will trade him. So I would say Oakland probably wins 43 or 44 games and has the worst record since, I believe, the Detroit Tigers in 2003. They also won 43 games. You look at St. Louis, that is remarkable. I'm sure St. Louis will turn it around. Chicago will as well. But, you're digging yourself a massive hole at this point. Colorado and Washington are going to be terrible. Cincinnati's probably going to stay there. Cleveland will get a little bit better. Detroit will probably get worse. and then San Francisco. One of the weird things I saw last night with San Francisco, you may look at this and say 28,000, that's a pretty good attendance, but for a Saturday night in early May, I'm just surprised San Francisco is drawing around 28K right now. That seems like a low number. If you guys remember, San Francisco had that sellout streak. It got kind of ridiculous to where it was very obvious they weren't selling out games, but they were still marking them as sellouts. But that ended in like 2018 or 2019. And really, just in general, they've kind of been having a downtrend in terms of their attendance overall. And then we do also have Tropicana Field. Yeah, I mean, that's not accurate. So what ESPN is doing is they're saying, because the upper deck isn't open, the Trop only has a capacity of 25K, but they actually opened it up. And so that's a good attendance, definitely. I mean, the Yankees are in town, but I still do think Tampa Bay, now they're 27-6. It's like they can't be stopped. It's just ridiculous. They should actually have a decent summer in terms of overall attendance. There's going to be a lot of motivated fans to get to games because they know with the situation, they're trying to get a new stadium. If they have these good crowds, it'll at least help in terms of overall momentum as compared to what's happening in Oakland, to where it was the exact polar opposite. The team was terrible, so no one wanted to go to games, and that caused them to move. There's got to be a massive incentive for Tampa Bay Rays fans, not only because the team could potentially move, but also because the team's just insanely good right now, for them to go to games and possibly, at least, you're talking about weekend games getting 25 or 26,000. Again, I realize there's a bunch of Yankee fans that retire in Florida. That's kind of where some of that is coming from, but still, that's a good attendance number. It's nice to see. By the way, the Tennessee Titans, who have their own new stadium that was actually delayed a year, it's opening in 2027, they have already planned to host WrestleMania in 2027. So if you're ever wondering why are these owners so obsessed with roofs, with fixed, closed, domed stadiums, it's because you can host events like this. I'm sure Nashville is also already planning to get a Final Four. And this is really why they do it. It brings in a ton of foot traffic. It brings in a ton of tourist dollars and things like that. And it is funny that this isn't even going to open until 2027, and they're already planning on, hosting WrestleMania, 60,000 total seats there. I just saw that and I thought it was interesting. $2.1 billion in comparison to the Bills' new stadium, which is opening a year earlier. That's going to be $1.54 billion, and that's mainly due to the additional roof on the Titans stadium. And then we do have the Oakland A's deal for the Vegas site expected to close in late 2023. The Oakland Athletics deal to buy nearly 50 acres of land for a potential new ballpark west of the Las Vegas Strip is expected to close towards the end of the year, according to sources. The sale agreement covers just under 50 acres with the option for the A's to purchase an additional 8 acres as well. The purchase price for the land cannot be disclosed. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, guys, so, yeah, it's looking like things are moving forward with the Oakland Athletics move to Las Vegas. We still have not received any stadium renderings or anything like that. Once this becomes official, I would imagine we would get stadium renderings this offseason for a potential fixed or maybe, I believe they're saying retractable roof now. I think that's what it is, retractable roof stadium in Las Vegas with some type of translucent roof, which is what a lot of people expect to happen. That's kind of the newer stadium design with the natural light. So that's going to be coming this offseason likely. And then also this offseason, I am expecting the A's to announce they will be, after the lease is up at the Coliseum after 2024, they will be moving into that AAA ballpark with the crazy altitude. Actually, it's not crazy altitude, but it is the second highest altitude in all of the MLB, 2,000 feet lower than Coors Field with the Colorado Rockies, and they'll move there for 2025-2026. It'll be a 2-year thing at the minor league stadium, the Triple League Stadium, which is completely state-of-the-art. it's just such a good option, and it's kind of like, what a convenient thing that, that they just built this in 2018. It's got the biggest scoreboard in all of AAA, and then we will get the Oakland Athletics moving to their new stadium in 2027. Groundbreaking will probably be happening, I would say. It would have to happen in 2024. And then we do have a spectator, how about this one, fell over a protective railing and onto the Red Sox bullpen in the top of the first inning of the game at Citizens Bank Park. So you guys know how the bullpen setup is, kind of in right center field at Citizens Bank Park. I think it's a sweet bullpen setup because if you actually look at the design, it doesn't take up a ton of space. I feel like we see these horizontal bullpens take up so much space, but this one is kind of like tucked into a little corner, and I really like the design, but apparently someone got a little bit maybe too drunk, maybe a little overzealous. You're doing a little day drinking if that's happening in the first inning. So I think it said they were doing well or they were in stable condition, whatever. And then there's this. So this is just something that's really unfortunate. This was a clear, slip up. If you guys know the A's announcer, that dude's been calling Oakland Athletics games on TV since really I started watching baseball. You always hear his voice. He made listen, it is a bad slip up. It's about as bad as you can get in terms of slipping up on a word for sure. But, come on, this was obviously not intentional, and let's not be ridiculous. This dude's been calling a ton of A's games. There's been so many situations like this, and I just hope they don't fire this dude. That would just be ridiculous if they ended up doing that whenever. If you guys want to know what happened, I can't show it because it'll probably just demonetize my video, but just look it up on Twitter. It was just a slip up, you can tell. Either way, there was also that situation as well. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.